lunacy. By Jove, Fury, it's madness.
Welcome to Lunch Therapy with your host, Joe Marshall.
I'm gonna get myself a modem. 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 Hello and welcome to Lunch Therapy. Joel Marshall here. This is Interview Friday. Let's see who's here. Guignel is here. Hoy, Kamala is here. It's great to have everybody here because we've got a terrific guest today. We've got a veteran comedian. His name is Stephen Allen Green, and we're really lucky to have him here. He was a regular at the Comedy Store starting in 1981. He came up, he's one of the greats, along with Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Cynthia Levin, Brian Holtzman, Jim Carrey, Mark Maron, all those people. He's got a million stories. He's got a great agent, from what I understand. He's got an incredible commercial agent who might actually be in the chat room. I don't know, but I'm gonna breathe because it's gonna be hard keeping up with this guy. So in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold that breath. Let it go. Yahoo! Howard Aronin is in the chat room. All right. Comedian Howard Aronin. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Is that how you say Levin? No one knows. No one knows how you say it. Cynthia has never divulged that to me. Let all the air out. And then one more. Hold it. Let it go. All right, I don't want Stephen to get stuck in the green room with Boney for too long, so let's get this thing going. It's Interview Friday with Stephen Allen Green.
Well, tonight's my last show. I'm leaving show business. As mentioned, thank you very much. Hi, Cindy is wearing the latest from Marks and Spencer's. Yes. What do you want to say? I'm not exactly a slag, but I'm late for my table. We're Marks and Spencer's. Fuck off. It's fucking comedy. I'm wearing your underwear. Please try not to talk while they're laughing at the things I've already said about you. Let's start off with a love fest. We got a little love fest happening here. What's your name there, sweetheart? Alma. Alma? Ma? What are you, a fucking Barbie doll? I can't fucking... You're a musician. What are you playing? Piano. Wow. What's your fucking problem here, buddy? Yeah, I'm the funny man. Yeah, I'm the funny guy, yeah. Well, that's why I'm being paid, and you fucking paid to see me, so fuck off. Hang on a second, Alpha. What's your name there, Sparky? Craig! Craig, what are you doing, Craig? You're a driving instructor. Fucking hell. To people against their will, or is it... Yeah. And what's the most important thing about driving, instructing drivers? Safety. It's a fucking boring answer, ladies and gentlemen. But it's what I wanted to hear. And do you work for a private corporation or something like that? Franchise. I love French fries. We call them chips over here.
Oh no, we lost him. Oh, wake up! Wake up, Steven. Hello? I need some smelling salts or something. Does anybody have any smelling salts out there? Oh, there he is. Oh,
what? Where am I? Am I driving? Did I just hit something?
Was that?
Hello, Joel.
Hello.
I was play acting. I was yawning I was falling asleep on my own stuff.
We have a.
Of course, I always fall asleep on my own stuff. How are you, Joel?
Great. How are you? Welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Great. It's always nice to see. It's always. Thank you. It's always nice to see a young person all enthused about life and showbiz.
I like that. I like it. Where is that young person? Oh, is it me? Oh, great.
Yeah, comparatively, yeah.
I am actually
because I'm from the old days.
You are? Oh,
go on.
Way back into Brooklyn. Are you from Brooklyn? Is that where you're from?
I was born. My parents are from Brooklyn. My father grew up. Down the hall neighbor was Mel Kaminsky, later Mel Brooks. And there was a lot of showbiz, and my mother went to high school with Danny Kaye. But I was born in Long Island, grew up in Beverly Hills. The poor section, I only had $10,000 on my credit card by the time I was 10.
Oh, that's sad. That is so sad.
Very.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't have a limo driver taking me to school. I had to drive my own Porsche.
That is the worst. It's so embarrassing to drive your own Porsche.
It was suffering at the worst level. Yeah, go on.
The thing that I love, I showed that clip at the beginning because I love the fact that you come out there and you have such a command of what you do that you can banter with the audience in such an aggressive way. How do you manage to do? How do you manage to do that? And in Manchester, and no less.
Manchester, the home of Oasis, Manchester United, and going back 5 decades, Peter Noon and Herman's Hermits,
Yeah.
And the Hollies.
No one knows what you're talking about. No one knows what you're talking about, Stephen. Those references.
Okay, so Herman's Hermits, Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter. They were like Beatles.
Beatles? Who's that?
Era.
Do you mean, is that like Oasis?
Okay. Yeah, it's like Oasis. I got a funny story about that, by the way. But anyway, the question is how. I think it was a combination of me being American over there, and Americans are well known for having, we're well known for having our confidence and our forthright. We say things directly. I mean, the greatest example I give is a exaggerated comedic example where, in New York, someone might say, Bob, you're full of shit, right?
Yeah.
But in England, they might say, Bob, if one didn't know you any better, one might think you were playing with the truth. Which, of course, is both extremes. But I think so. It's that American confidence that they loved.
Yeah.
But it's the other half of it. The other half of it, Joel, is that the audiences in England, I mean, I'm saying across the board, have a sense of humor about everything.
Really? And
I think in the 20 years I was there, I offended one person who was very drunk and stupid. And I've never had a club. I did a gig here in Tucson like 10 years ago here in America, where the club owner fined me for talking to a heckler.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Wow. No.
Okay.
No.
You win. And find me. I mean, actually, the manager came over to me and said, the owner saw you, and for the last set here, this is like totally humiliating, so we'll never go back there. Yeah. He said, we're deducting you 5 minutes from your next 20-minute set because you dealt with a heckler. I go, what do you mean I dealt with a heckler? He heckled me. I saved the honor of the stage in the club. Well, I think it had something to do with the fact of the open carry gun laws in they're afraid that I'd get shot or something. I don't know. It was very humiliating. But the point is that, as you know, the British audiences, the British people during the day, you can joke with everybody about everything, just about, because it's looked at. I think you get a little intellectual here, but it's looked at. Conversations are looked at objectively, including by the participants. So there's always a feeling like there's someone watching or listening. So you better be right. And yet at the same time, now's the time to take your chance and say what you mean. But basically, it was just a good marriage of England and I. And I'm very grateful for everyone who hired me and every audience that was kind to me. And
there's an underlying respect, though, that you seem to have with the people when even though you're putting them down, it's like it's an agreement that you have with the audience that I'm gonna, bust your balls, and you're gonna be able to talk back to me, because that's also a risk that you take as a performer, is allowing the people to talk. They might not have a microphone, but they could really, mess you up. And also, you're going to be out there for a half an hour or an hour or whatever it is, and you can't lose them.
No, you're absolutely right. And of course, just to point out, I have material that I bring to it as well. But well, I mean, the thing is, I've written jokes that have for Arsenio and Arsenio and Jay Leno, and Jimmy Walker, and things that have been done on television. I can write these jokes. For me, I get bored, and so I want to engage with the audience. And I'll tell you this: I view it as like a tennis match against a good opponent. I want good, witty, smart people to explore ideas and make stupid puns and make jokes. It's never at anyone's expense intentionally, and I think the audience has a voice that they're not allowed to express. They only have, they're basically told, sit down, be quiet, order 2 drinks, laugh when it's funny, don't make any other noise at any other time. Those are the rules.
Yeah.
And I talked back to my television when I was a kid. So I mean, I like that interaction. There's nothing like it. There's nothing as funny about it. I mean, funny as it, I should say.
There's nothing as funny as it. I'm going to play another clip where you're talking to this guy about his job, because it's a good one too.
Sure.
From that same night.
Sure.
Just a sec.
That same night in Manchester,
Now, what do you
Frog
use,
and Bucket.
Yep.
Plastic applicator.
You masturbate? Why couldn't you? What the fuck? A mastic applicator? I'm sorry, Simon. I have the mic, you don't, so I couldn't quite hear. What do you do?
Mastic applicator. What's that?
Yeah, even your fucking people don't even know what the fuck.
That's why I said, oh shit. I apply mastic.
He's a dick, I think.
I didn't like that response
What
at
the fuck
all.
is mastic? Mastic is semen? I am really sorry I went down this road with you.
There's even a better interchange with the lady a little bit later on. I don't know if you caught it, where she's a teacher and teaches maths.
Yep.
You got that one? That's my favorite one.
I don't have that one queued up, but that was really good too. Yeah.
It's coming right after it, and it's very funny and politically incorrect, and it was probably my biggest laugh that night. I mean, I am taking a risk because, there's an expectation, especially from the American audiences, that they're there to see a presentational format where but they don't realize that I'm planning everything. I mean, I have, first of all, I'm going out, it's my premise, as I tell the audience, it's my last show. I'm leaving the business because I get high on the laughter and I have to quit, but let's have fun. And then there's music and there's songs, and I'm putting them on a little bit. So I want to engage them. I'll even cultivate a heckler, because at the end, I used to have a fake gun. I don't do
Yeah.
that anymore, where I point to the heckler and get the audience. Shall we just please
Definitely
stand
a
up? The
different
audience
time.
cheers.
Yeah.
Another time, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of cultivating the audience for my money as a performer. I mean, I don't want to ever be a performing monkey. What I want is I want to be all in. I want to dive naked down that waterfall into that mysterious below the mist river. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's my joy of performing. Because I know that if I go there, 99% of the time, the audience will be thrilled to go there with me.
Because it's exciting and immediate.
Because it's in the moment and it's immediate and it's exciting.
And also it's people are excited about the risk too, I think.
And I don't think they realize there's a risk. And I think that's part of it too. And they feel safe with me.
Yeah.
Because they know, I make it very clear up front that I am equal fodder. If they got something to say to me, here, I'll give you a prime example, a story back at the company. May I tell you this?
Yes, please, of course. That's what we're here for.
Okay, so back in the 80s, I was a regular at the Comedy Store, and I was did a lot of stuff there. But I was one of the MCs on Monday night, and so Monday night was a combination of superstars dropping in, like Robin Williams and Richard Pryor, and everybody who was a superstar, but also potluckers, or what do we call them today? Open micers.
Yeah. I used to do that potluck back then. Yeah.
Did you?
Well, it's probably in the 90s, I guess I would do the potluck. I
I was gone by 91.
I lived across the street, and I would go to the belly room, and I'd put my thing in the hat, and then they'd put up a list, and then I lived close enough I could go back home, watch TV, and then go and do my set. But I mean, I was just, young and just winging it, but it was super fun.
Well, I mean, it's so much fun when you're young and winging it. And I'm talking about, we did it in the original room downstairs, and they would open the way the building was constructed. It shared the men's room was shared in a hallway with the main room. So when the main room doors, when both of them would open, you'd be up there doing your thing, and then you'd hear in the background through a microphone, you'd hear Robin Williams, going, oh, and big laughter, and you just this big soup of excitement. Yeah. So here's what happened. Arsenio Hall, I mean, before I got there, my the first guy to hire me on staff was Jimmy J.J. Walker from Good Times. Yeah. But by the time I got there, he would already been a star, and he was kind of not there that very much because he was busy being a star.
Yeah.
So during my time there, the first African American to really punch through was Arsenio Hall. And it happened at the same time that Eddie Murphy put him in with Coming to America, and and I'm sure they co-created it. So I don't know the exact.
I don't know either.
Anyway, so Monday nights that I hosted started to attract a lot of African American people, comedy fans, as well as newbie comics, Martin Lawrence and Jamie Foxx, who I used to sneak up. He used to say, "Hey man, what time am I on the list?" And I go, "You're on for an hour and a half." And he goes, "Can you get me on early?" And I remembered how good he was. I said, "Sure." So I brought him up. So I used to wear a little bow tie. I was skinny. I had suspenders, a guitar. I looked like total white nerd. And the black audiences, African American, would talk if they were bored. They didn't get my rock and roll references, and I get it. So there was a guy in the front row, an African American gentleman, who was clearly talking to his two women on either side, friends or girlfriends, whatever. Very loud, very physically distracting because there was a lot of movement and stuff. So I felt my stuff was dying. I went into the crowd and I went right to him and I said, "How you doing, sir?" And he goes, "I'm fine." And I go, "What do you do for a living?" Now I want to just, if I can, I want to sidebar slightly for 20 seconds this "what do you do" routine. It's very important to understand that comedians in the old days would say, "What do you do for a living?" The emphasis was on the word "you," because it was basically saying, "I'm a comedian. What do you do for a living?" And it's kind of like trying to say, "You're fucking with my work," or "This is what I do. What do you do?"
Heckle you, yeah.
Without saying all that. So it's not like, "What do you do for a living?" It's not like I have no materials. It's just it's addressing someone who's already making a presence, unwanted presence known. And I get distracted easily, so I forgot what I was saying. I said
you went down to talk to the guy. The guy's sitting there.
No, it was a joke on I get distracted easily. And okay, so I keep up, man, keep up.
Damn.
So I said, what do you do for a living? And he without hesitation, I loved this guy. He said, I heckle comedians, and then he went, ha ha, and the whole crowd went nuts.
Yeah.
And they were laughing, and I thought, oh my God, the bottom's dropped out of the grocery bag, and I'm dead meat. This is never going to happen. And then there's just enough time. So what you got to do is, you see how high the laughter effervesces, rises to the ceiling, literally.
Yeah.
And then just as soon as it kind of floats for a second, and then the laughter starts to drop slowly, and then it'll drop quickly.
Yeah.
So right when it starts to drop slowly, that's when you come back in. And I said, so he said, I heckle comedians. And I just leaned into the microphone and I said, yeah, but what do you do well?
Oh!
And to the audience,
God.
thank you.
Yeah.
And to the audience's credit, Joel,
Yeah.
everybody, including this gentleman, were very appreciative of that moment. Because that's what we're trying to get going is, in England, we call taking the piss, which is that, you put down your mate, your friend, in front of your other friends in a way that shows it's like roasting,
Yeah.
but it's not as vicious.
Well, also what it does is they make a joke about you and then you make a joke about them, and it's like you're even. It's like there's nothing. It almost releases that person from being the bad guy,
Yeah, that's how it's done in America, and that's how it's sort of done in England. But in England, the biggest goal that everybody has is to not be bothered. In other words, I'm not bothered. It doesn't bother me. It's like, yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, right. Okay, so it's that kind of thing. It's like, wow. But subtle difference. But yeah, anyway.
I love that. You also play guitar on stage, which is another element of entertainment that you have to deal with. I mean, obviously, at the time, also Steve Martin was playing the banjo, and you played the guitar. Do you? I want to play something from that. Here's one where you say, I have a song that I wrote. Can I play that clip?
Please enjoy.
Let's do that one.
I'd like to play for you another song that I wrote just a couple of days ago. I never played it in public. I hope you like it, and here it is. Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to be doing comedy in just a second again, but this was a serious song. This is a love song I wrote. I know why you laughed, but it's not that song. That song is in a different key. I'm going to speed it up and get to the verse. Yesterday, all my troubles so far away. Oh, you're a hip fucking crowd. Okay.
That's awesome. Okay.
I want to point out. Can I point out the germination of that joke?
Yes.
I mean, I wrote that before I became a comedian. I was a singer-songwriter, and in the news, very big was George Harrison being sued by the composer of "He's So Fine," and so I was taking the then most popular song and pretending I wrote it and doing it in a very Steve Martin kind of way, deadpan, and then. But it's amazing to me that it still works. I mean, this always brings up a question that a bunch of us comedians always talk about is, because I'm always writing new material. I still write for other comedians that work the clubs.
Yeah.
And I write for myself all the time, although I'm not performing as much, so the jokes can spoil after a few days, but I do post a lot. But the question always was, you have your standard bits in your act. I've held on to bits for 20 years because they always work and there's always a new audience to see them. So it becomes a bit of a conflict because, if you're a topical comedian, which I'm not, although I do topical jokes, but if you're a topical comedian, then you're going to have to change what you're doing. You're going to cover subjects that are in the news and in society. Anyway, little side note. Just
Yeah.
to prove to your audience that I can, as though as interesting and funny as I am, I can also be extremely tedious and boring.
Thank you for illustrating that. The
Yeah.
the thing that I wanted that I know that, okay, so that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. As you get older as a comedian, you have had several kind of iterations of yourself. Because I've looked at a lot of your lot of your performances over the years. Like you were on Conan, you were this one here, of course. Then also you've been doing short films and films. And you
Yeah.
have your persona kind of changes. Like right now with the
Interesting.
beard and everything, you have like a totally different look than what we're looking at here in
Yeah.
England there. Do you have to alter the jokes that you're doing and your relationship with the audience? Because now maybe if you got up on stage and you said something that seemed aggressive to the audience, they might be scared because you look like, you could be a mafioso or like the guy that breaks your fingers. When you
Yeah,
lend money.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. When I do the roast battle at the Comedy Store, I try to dress up as much as possible. But the millennial judges are always, and always calling me some kind of, grandpa pedophile. No matter what I do, no matter how trim I make the beard, no matter, I always get that. But that's roast battle. When I did the Comedy Chateau last Friday, I I had I would say the average age was late 20s, and they loved me. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want to say how great I am that night. I'm saying
we'll say it for you.
they have bad taste. These kids don't know anything, and they loved me. Makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so, I think what it is it I lived in the house for 6 months, the Comedy Store house, with Andrew Dice Clay before he was really famous,
yeah.
and he stayed in character almost all the time that I knew him.
Did he really?
And he was the most. Sorry.
Did he? He was like in character most of the time when you were just hanging out with him.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Because
we'd have these
it is
poker
a
games.
character that he plays on stage. I mean, it is a real character, and he has talked about
He
that.
just stay in character. I mean, I've had talks with him, and it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because he doesn't say, "Okay, now I'm being Andrew Silverstein,"
Yeah, yeah,
because he would talk like this anyway, But
yeah.
it'd be more so on stage. But um, I think there's a fine line between being a strong personality on stage and being an intimidating character on stage. Character
Yeah.
there's a fine line, and I just, for me, I mean, this is the big secret with me is that the main reason why I think I'm still interested in being a comedian and doing comedy shows is because, to me, when things are going well with an audience, it's the purest form of friendship. They're giving me laughter and they're giving me their time,
Yeah.
and I'm giving them my expertise in my comedy, and it's an even exchange, and it's wonderful, and it is about friendship because I want to get maudlin here, but when I was a kid, divorced parents, different cities, so it was like 3 months one school, 2 months another city I didn't even make friends at yet, and now we're yanked and going somewhere else, and I don't know how long. So it kind of like I was preparing for being a stand-up on the road when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I love this is lunch therapy, by the way. There's therapy.
Oh, yeah,
in the
that's
name,
right.
So you're doing
That's right.
exactly what you should be doing. The
Good.
the thing is, I like to think when I'm doing stand up that I'm giving laughs rather than getting laughs. And it's almost like a service, that you're doing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Same thing.
giving laughs.
I mean,
I
not that
think
I'm
it's-
always giving
I-
laughs, but it just is a better
Yeah.
way for me to think about it. And I know you wrote
It's
a book
semantical.
on the addiction of laughter.
I had
and
an
being on
agent
stage,
for it, and a lot of people rejected it. I still have it. I'm gonna. I want to update it and put it out there. It's called Confessions of a Showbiz Junkie,
Yeah.
and I interviewed some famous comedians, but I also interviewed Norman Cousins, who was adjunct professor at UCLA, and basically he wrote a very famous book called Anatomy of an Illness, which told his story or retold his story of how he healed himself from a very painful arthritic condition through large doses of vitamin C and laughter therapy. And so my premise was, I get high on the laughter, and anything you get high on can become addictive and change your behavior. And in fact, I was witness to comedians becoming serious drug addicts, committing suicide, prostrating themselves to get stage time, ruining their marriages, becoming complete assholes, generally being unhappy. Not all comics, and certainly not the majority, but there were comics that, for them, I get high on the laughter. I'm addicted to it, and although I was satirizing, so the whole premise was that I was satirizing my own impetuousness in showbiz. My own, I got to have that. I got to call that guy up. He didn't return my call. It was 10 minutes ago. I'm going to call him again. It was my own ambition, over ambition.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I thought the whole thing was absurd. I thought the entire game of becoming famous, although I understand it as a business model that, for money, you want to be McDonald's rather than Shake Shack, although I love Shake Shack. I think better hamburgers, frankly. But although I don't want to get into sponsorship trouble here. But yeah, so I believed, I felt high on stage. I didn't do drugs back then. I didn't smoke pot back then. And I stayed away from it. I tried coke in the 70s when I was a telemarketer about half a dozen times. Didn't like it. Nearly thought I was having a heart attack. And I was labeled a narc at the Comedy Store by some comics, including especially Sam Kinison.
Oh, no.
Because, okay, I'll tell you a story. So the late Louis Anderson had a nephew named Joey who was like literally right out of the Midwest, good-looking kid, was shagging every female comic that would let him, and every waitress who would let him. And Louis comes up to me and goes, "Steven," I go, "Hey, Louis. Yeah, I know I'm dead now, but I want to recall a story where Joey's moving up." Sounds like Mitzi. "Joey's moving up to the house. I want you to keep an eye on him to make sure and he doesn't get involved with Sam and the drugs." And I said, "Of course, Louis." And so cut to, I'm coming home one day, and there's a comic doing a drug through a pipe. Now, if I had known it was pot, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But there was another comedian who would come up and do crack at the poker table through a pipe. And I had a drug death in my family. So I was like hyper alert. And I made a solemn vow to watch someone's nephew. So I had to be a fucking narc. And so I called up Louis.
You had a situation, right, where you were supposed to, as a young person, you were supposed to watch somebody, and apparently they committed suicide. Isn't that right?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Because I do my research, Stephen Allen Green.
Okay. Yeah, that was my.
That makes sense that you would be, concerned about somebody who thought they were smoking. Hypervigilant, yeah.
My half brother, Larry, at 25, brilliant man, but he jumped off the Park La Brea Tower, one of them, to his death in 1973. Wow. Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up.
So
I just thought it was perfect.
No, that's fine. No. I'm dealing with it all the time anyway. I'm back in therapy. So, by the way, I am the most interesting therapy patient, and I'm trying to figure out a way to monetize it rather than me paying them. But anyway, so I was hypervigilant. So
yeah. Go ahead.
So here's the outcome. So Louis comes up. I've never seen Louis get angry like that and scared the shit out of everybody and like grabbed Joey by the collar and pulled him out of there. But thank God. I mean, looking back, I think it was just a bong, but I was concerned it was crack because there was another comedian using crack. Mm-hmm. And from then on, I became virtually banished from the Comedy Store because Sam Kinison was affiliated with this person who was doing the drugs with Joey. Mm-hmm. And so Sam and his crew, who I used to hang out with, we go to the Thai restaurant at 4 a.m, and I got my first headlining gig at Sam Kinison's Brothers Club in Madison, Wisconsin, and it was a 2-week great experience. Wow. Now Now they call me the narc, and they had such influence over the Comedy Store. I never got spots again, basically.
Wow. That is rough.
Now the question really becomes: if I had known that was the outcome, would I have behaved differently? Would I have done a less heroic deed? Maybe a little bit more diplomatically. Maybe say, Louis, don't tell anybody.
There were a hell of a lot of politics going on at that time. There was the strike,
Yeah.
and then there was the improv that was opened up.
Yeah.
And then if you went and played the improv, they all of a sudden, Mitzi would be mad at you supposedly, and you wouldn't be able to play the Comedy Store anymore.
I'll tell you a quick story there. I'll tell you a quick story about that if I can, just quickly, because it's.
Take your time.
Okay.
Here.
I needed money after about 6 years of being there. I came in driving. I was 24 years old, new BMW. I had a business during the day.
Yeah.
Laughing at these checks for $10 for doing comedy. Not laughing, but going, I'm going to put that check up in a frame rather than cash it. I'm making thousands a week. So I got to a point where I needed money, and I was answering phones at the Comedy Store, and I also got a job writing at Mitzi's office across the way, and I was a doorman. I went backwards, from paid regular to doorman.
Wow.
And, I took it seriously. I put on a top hat, white gloves, lots of funny stories there,
Nice.
little humiliating.
Yeah.
And then one Friday or Saturday night, Mitzi comes up to me in the main room. She goes, Stephen Allen Green. She'd always say my full name. Stephen Allen Green. I go, yes, Mitzi. I want you to call up the Improv and see what Comedy Store comics are working there and report back to me. So I said, absolutely, Mitzi, will do. And I quit the next day. I never called. I quit. Or if I'd called, I then thought twice but telling her. Of course, she could have called her, well, not with her voice. That was the thing. Hi, this is an anonymous person calling up to see what comics are working. So she knew she had a distinguished voice.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I this is the thing. I just felt, I felt an absolute tribal loyalty to my comics. I was there. I got there about 4 years after the strike. I know I would have been on the side of the strikers. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
The only time I crossed the line with comedians that I can remember was to help Louis Anderson, save his nephew's life. You just, with every situation, Joel, I'm going to ask you, there are certain expectations of what we're supposed to do, everything from recycling to maybe pulling over on the side of the road if there's some old person or whoever who's stranded, or a dog running across the freeway. There's things that we do that aren't in the rule books. And,
and that's just about being a good person.
Well, right? This is what I've been saying and thinking lately, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, wow, you got this agent now, and Adam's a great agent, love Adam, and doing these shows, getting a lot of invitations for these shows, and my live shows picking up, and I'm developing a film based on the Jerry Lewis experience and with someone else.
We haven't even touched on yet, which we
haven't touched upon that. Well, I just want. I'd rather be. To be honest, I've reached a point in my life where I've gotten very philosophical, where I basically would rather be a good person than a happy person. If the two are in conflict, you can be both.
Yeah.
Yes, you are, Adam. You're great. Yes, of course. I said that because I knew you were watching. I'd just rather be a good person, silently be a good person, do the right thing, have integrity. If it came down to being happy or doing the right thing.
It's a tough one. But you should do the right thing, right?
Fuck no. Go where the money is. I say.
That's tough, though.
Here's
is really
my plan.
tough.
If I could market myself as a good person, then I could rule the world.
Yeah, but you know what also is sometimes people move their doing the right thing over to where it's convenient rather than just doing the right thing that they know is the right thing. And sometimes if we see it all over the place where people have moved their judgment of what's right and wrong to suit their needs. And we look at it and we're like, what an asshole. People do that to their careers though too, where sometimes people, not because they're not a good performer, not because they're not a good actor or whatever, they have moved their sense of right and wrong so far that we go, and that's one of the things we're dealing with this whole Me Too movement, which is making it very uncomfortable for us as comedians, but it is also kind of speaks to what you're talking about, right?
Well, I think so, but I mean, I think I'm 100% behind the Me Too movement, but I mean, not just in terms of male-dominated sexual aggression towards females or any other gender combo.
Yeah.
I think again, I think that everything boils down to just. I think people got to tone down their egos. And people have to. The problem with America, if I was running for office, I'm a fictional character and running for office here. The problem with America, I think, is biggest problem. I know this is going to sound trivial, but the thing that would solve almost everything is if we brought back the freedom to say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," because that's gone. Because as soon as you say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," I'm not talking about a Whoopi Goldberg thing where you're forced to say it, where your handlers say you better apologize, or Joe Rogan where you better apologize and explain. But it's where it's. I think it's the lawyers. No offense, I wanted to be one, but it's where lawyers look at a public apology as an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
Right, and culpability and liability.
That's
and
an interesting one.
Or there's just something really, really powerful in being able to apologize. And I deal with this on a personal level. There are some comics that I started out with. Actually, I was way ahead of them back in the 80s. Missy wouldn't give them stage time. That was her taste. She gave them a little bit of stage time. They thought I had more sway than I did. I had some sway. And now some of them are is working as much as I'd like to be working, frankly, as a comic on the road, commanding a good price, and they deserve it. They're good comics. But a couple of them won't even acknowledge my human existence. If I see them, they know it's me. They're embarrassed to know me. They won't talk to me. And it's really weird.
Well, you know how things change in Hollywood. Things change. Like 1 minute somebody's not talking to you, the next minute it's like they're calling you up asking for a favor. Someone in the chat room said, "How did you handle being ostracized?" And I wanted to ask you about that as well. Just because you were having a difficult time in Hollywood, is that why you moved to England?
Partially, yeah. So what happened was about a year after that. And I had made some mistakes. I got banished from the Improv for a stunt that had something to do with
Was that when you were playing your
comedy
guitar? When you were playing your guitar out there? Yeah. So did you know Andy Kaufman as well?
I met him a few times, but I did not ever hang out with him or have a real conversation with him.
You said that you were trying to do like a Kaufman-esque thing outside the
because
Improv.
Hang on, where's my phone? It's ringing. I can't even see it. Oh no, that's the blue. Let me turn off the Bluetooth on that. Sorry. So Chris Albrecht was the big comedy agent. He went on to HBO to create HBO as a comedy behemoth. Mm-hmm. Chris was a partial owner of the Improv in New York, and his comedy partner was Bob Zamuda. So it was Albrecht and Zamuda, comedy from A to Z. Bob Zamuda was Andy Kaufman's writing partner. Mm-hmm. And so they were at the Improv that night, and Chris had been I was trying to jump ship from the Comedy Store over to the Improv because Mitzi had cut about a dozen of us in a way that was very humiliating. So I was a paid regular, and then she made a showcase for her, and some of us she let go. Others nobody she promoted at the time, I don't think. But the other bunch of us got demoted from paid regular to non-paid regular. So it's like saying you can keep your job, we're just not going to pay you. So I was fed up. Right.
The $1 a minute or whatever it is.
Well, I'll tell you something, Joel. It's never really about the money, although, of course, my banker doesn't agree. It's about the fact that you're being paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's an honor.
So this agent, Chris Albrecht, who represented Eddie Murphy and an unknown but coming Jim Carrey, was friends with Bud, and they tried to get me into the improv, and it wasn't working out, and there was already a resentment because I'm an idiot. Because I tell you why I'm an idiot. I think when I auditioned there, I had my Comedy Store T-shirt on because I thought I didn't know. When I got to the Comedy Store, all that battle stuff between the improv and the Comedy Store was like 4 or 5 years behind before I got there.
Yeah.
So no one told me. You know,
didn't
I thought
realize
it was
that
like,
was
hey,
a thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I got fed up. I was trying to get an audition, and and then I went in there to hang out, and I saw Chris, and anyway, I ended up just playing my guitar outside, thinking and saying things like, "I'm Stephen Allen Green, and I can't get into the improv," and "Hello, Chris over there." I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was just, and Chris came out and thought it was great, and Bob was there, thought it was funny,
Yeah.
and they both went, look, this is kind of inappropriate, and then called me in the morning, and I found out I was banned. So for like 10 years, I wasn't allowed to go in there. Now I am, but it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's a different.
That was
world now.
painful. What's the next question?
All right. Next question is: so you go to England. How is it different there? We talked a little bit about how the audiences are different there, but you started actually producing your own shows. And there's this clip here that I wanted to play. Here
High
it
on
is.
Laughter.
This is kind of explaining a little bit. No, this is explaining something, what we're talking about here.
Okay.
Who are these guys? These guys that I've been trying to impress all this time. These Mitzies and Buds and agents and this guy and that guy. Sure, they can help you, but they never return your calls. And they always say they're going to do something for you and they don't do it, right? And we expect so much. And we're nice to them, but we don't like them. And this and that. And they're all assholes. They think that they know everything. They got the Palm Pilots. They're talking to somebody. They're giving you a funny look. They're assholes. I don't like them. They're creepy people. They're liars. They're bastards. And I thought, hey, I can do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, that's kind of a parody of what I really thought when I created High on Laughter, which is a big charity show that benefited a drug and alcohol charity launched by Princess Diana. I'd done 2 of them in Edinburgh at 1,000-seat theater, then at the large 3,300-seat
Was
theater,
that
and
at
I
the
brought it down to
Edinburgh Theatre Festival, or was it at a different
the Edinburgh
time?
Fringe Festival. Is the largest
Festival.
arts festival in the world. If anybody, by the way, wants to know how to do the Edinburgh Fringe and do it correctly, I've done 7 of them. Contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you.
I will be contacting you immediately. I'm considering this contact.
So, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I just made a decision. If I ever got in a position, I'd be nicer than the people that didn't treat me well. Not everybody that rejects you treats you badly.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Breslin, who runs the largest. You know Mark Breslin?
No, I don't. Tell me about it.
So he runs the largest comedy chain in the world, Yuck Yucks in Canada. And I was auditioning for him at the Comedy Store to get on the Joan Rivers show, the first show on the Fox network. It was a talk show. She had gone up against Carson, which was a big deal. And I did well. I got laughs. Mark came outside the Comedy Store, said, because I was, no cigar. I was a guitar act, but call Toronto. And I got 3 tours of Canada, headlining tours. So, I mean, he's a very sweet man to do that.
Yeah.
But all I ever want is not necessarily a consolation prize, but just talk to me. Just tell me. Just let me say thank you for the opportunity. Don't ghost me and whatever. But anyway, so I became that guy, and I had a lot of money and a backer, and I kind of hit a glass ceiling in England that they just didn't seem to let Americans at the time get through that often. And I felt I deserved better. Even though I was headlining, there were 200 clubs in London, 200 paying rooms, 200 at the time, paying rooms. And one of the reasons,
200.
well, here's the thing, 100. Here. Let me explain. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know there's limited time. Every pub, every village in London, every part of London was a village 1,000 years ago. Literally, there was trees between. It's like between Santa Monica and the valley, there was a forest. And then the cities, the towns grew up together. So every
There's
village
an actual,
has a pub.
official London that's actually just a small area, right? I mean, that's actually the original.
No, the
London.
official. Well, it's called Central London. That's a very small. That's relatively big, but relatively small to London itself.
Yeah.
London has been considered a country unto itself, even though it's not technically. But the point is that these they had public houses. That's what pubs are, and so they each had like a performance space for the local plays, but also political meetings and village gatherings. In the '60s, that's where the music came from. I actually performed with in the Richmond pub where the Rolling Stones played, and when they were starting out.
Yeah.
So in the late '80s and '90s in particular, everything went comedy. And then there were they called them purpose-built clubs like the Comedy Store, and then jongleurs, big 500 seats that I worked, and theaters, comedy doing. The audience, the last point is that the breweries generally owned or subsidized the pubs. So you get very reasonably priced wholesaled beer that the public can afford. I mean, that's really what it is. And it's an economical evening out, and the audiences are great. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So there you kind of blossomed, right? And you've got a lot of stage time there. That's probably why you're so damn confident with the audience, in those clips, because
it really helped me.
Doing this
No, the British
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. The British audiences were the smartest audiences. I hate to say it, but the smartest, most confident audiences I've ever seen. Do you know the famous Eric Douglas story?
No, tell us the famous Eric Douglas story.
Okay,
please.
I can do it in 60 seconds. I'm looking at the clock. Eric Douglas, sad character. He's passed on. He overdosed at 37. The youngest brother of famed actor Kirk Douglas, and younger brother of Michael Douglas, the actor married to Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Wow, okay.
And Eric Douglas was just mentally off the rails, and so anyway, we cut to London, the jongleurs, the big 500 seaters that I worked, and all right, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. We have a special guest all the way from America, and the audience goes, well, hey, that's what they do. Yeah. Please welcome you, Mr. Eric Douglas. So Eric Douglas comes out, and he's awkward, tells a joke, no laughs, crickets. Eric Douglas tries another joke. No laughs. Crickets. Finally, someone in the audience goes, come on, mate, tell us a joke, which is a standard heckle. And then he gets a little flustered and he tries again. Then someone else says, tell us a joke. And then, then all of a sudden everybody's like, come on, mate, we paid money here. We're punters. And then Eric Douglas snaps and he goes, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And someone in the audience went, no, mate, who the fuck are you? And he goes, I'm Eric Douglas. That's who I am. I'm Kirk Douglas's son. That's who I am. I'm Kirk Douglas's son. And then some bloke in the back of the room stands up and goes, I'm Kirk Douglas's son. And someone else goes, I'm Kirk Douglas's son. No way. And so it had so many meanings, but basically taken from Kubrick's Spartacus, where, no, I am Spartacus. And
I am Spartacus.
So it's a great story.
Oh, I love that so much. That is hilarious.
True story.
Okay, so I'm not going to play your famous "Fuck You" song unless, of course, the audience wants to hear it. I'm sure they do, actually. Oh, you have your guitar. Maybe you can play a song for us.
Yeah. I mean, the "Fuck You" song is really fun. Only if you'll sing it along with me.
Absolutely.
And if your audience will sing it along.
All right.
But let's see if the sound will. How does this sound? Oh, a little out of tune, but it's okay.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to bother tuning it, but
everybody
here we go.
wants you to do it. They're like, do it.
I changed registers.
Okay.
My name is Stephen Allen Green. Doing the Joel Marshall show. Lunch therapy. Making the comedy scene. And though our interview is nearly ended, this is what I'll say to those out there I may have offended. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Go to hell. Yeah. Everybody sing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Fuck you. Everybody, fuck you. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Go to hell. So when you go to work and your boss is giving you a hard time, look at your boss and go,
That's all you do. You don't even sing the words.
No.
That is so good. I'm gonna give the applause for the chat room here. Oh my God! I guess we're gonna have to end the show on that, because that is a golden tune. It's up there with the Trogs.
And you might want to cut to the actual me doing it in the club as we fade out and roll the credits. I'm not gonna be a control freak here, but by the way, it's Stephen Allen Green, Steven. You got it right up there. I'm just joking. Thank you, Joel. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sorry, what?
Did I spell it wrong somewhere?
No,
I'm known.
No, I'm just fucking with you. I'm just totally fucking with you. Let me just first of all thank you and thank your audience.
You're welcome.
And let me tell you, you're the most researched host who's interviewed me in a long time. You knew things about me I had almost forgotten. I really do appreciate that.
I'm a big fan. And don't you hate it when you go on something and they have no idea who you are? Has that ever happened to you? And they ask the most inane questions. I just never want to.
Yeah.
I never want to do that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like between two ferns, but not intentionally. All right, so we're gonna do a dance break. I got a great act here. Reina del Cid. She is doing a Beatles song. Some people out there know who the Beatles are, I guess, and kids do. So we're gonna dance it out. At the very end, I'm gonna play the "Fuck You" song from the club. And here we go, dance break time. You ready?
I am. Thank you. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you. All right, here we go. All right, let's get
Happy Sunday morning. Today we're here with Alex Mielke and Trevor Lindgren. This is Tony.
This girl, Reina, is up and coming.
Reina,
if not
we're gonna
already
do a
arrived.
Beatles song for you guys.
And this is a
Joan was quizzical, studied metaphysical science
songs.
in home. Late nights
still know
all
it, I guess.
alone with the test tube. Oh.
Thanks everybody for joining us today.
Majoring in
Thank you,
medicine
Stephen,
calls
for your incredible insights, great stories,
Can
and
I
openness.
take you out to the pictures, Joan?
Look forward to seeing the movie of your life.
And as she's
Starring
getting
Joel
ready
Marshall.
to go, a knock
Stephen Allen
comes
Green.
on the door. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon her head. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer made sure that she was
So you can
dead.
go to Reina del Cid's website or her, I don't know, the links are in the show notes. Check it out. Let's see what the
Back
chat
in
room says.
school again, Maxwell plays
Thanks for having us. All right, Tina Adams.
annoyed, wishing to avoid an unpleasant scene. She tells Max to stay when the class has gone away, so he waits behind, writing 50 times I must not be so. As she turns her back on the boy, he creeps up from behind.
Bang, bang,
Bang,
Maxwell's
bang.
silver hammer came down upon her head.
Get that guy on a series, Adam.
Silver hammer made sure she was dead.
All right, thanks everybody for being on Lunch Therapy, and we'll see you on Tuesday for more fun.
My name is Stephen Allen Green. Here at the Palladium, making the comedy scene. And though my career is nearly ended, this is what I'll say to those of you I may have offended. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Go to hell. Everybody say one.
Oh, that's it. All right, we'll see you all later, and see you on Tuesday, right? Tuesday it is.